What's that for?
Don't answer. All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. The meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local channel access 8 and through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. All right, we'll start with public and select board information. Anything from the board?
Not for me.
Jerry?
Nothing from me.
I have a couple things. I'm assuming everyone, their primary residence is here, got a notice in the mail, a letter about applying for the residential tax exemption, which we're tentatively planning to put into effect this fall. So I know they're already getting applications at the assessor's office, and I have offered to be at the public library from 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursdays. If anyone is having any issues with applying online or getting their documents together, I could do copying and make sure you have all the right documents to submit them. So I'll be there every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. at the library. All right, now anyone from the public have any information that's not on the agenda? That's not on the agenda. Okay, yeah.
Thanks so much for
You just,
Mike,
please, yeah, please state your name. And yeah, where do you live?
Alexieva, 275 Locust Road. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yes, so I would like to officially announce the Windmill Weekend dates. It's
Woohoo.
gonna take place on September 5th to 7th. The planning is going in full motion. And I would like to thank to the town administration, the recreation department, police department, and the fire that are supporting us. And soon we'll be opening the registration for the vendors, and excited to have another successful event.
And the theme this year?
Yes, the theme this year will be out of this world.
Out of this world. Love it.
exciting.
Love it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we have you on the agenda later for the
Yes. for
one-day
the-
liquor license
yes.
on Saturday and Sunday for the beer
Correct.
garden.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jerry. All right, anyone else from the public?
But I want to just mention Town Rabies Clinic is
Oh,
coming up Sunday, April 13th. And new update for that is that EDOA, Eastham Dog Owners Association members can actually get a free rabies vaccine for their dog if they're due. So just bring your membership card. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Health Department or to Animal Control, but it'll be at Eastham Veterinary Hospital on Sunday, 9 to 1, no specific times for cats or dogs this year. And they'll also take credit cards this year. So very accessible, low cost. You can also get your microchip done. If you have a microchip and you want it checked, I'll have my scanner.
Awesome. And is it the mobile kind of unit? So it's outside, you think?
It's in the office.
Oh, in
So,
office,
yeah,
everybody goes
They'll
in.
have all their staff there and
Okay.
some goodies and stuff.
All right, great. Thanks, Stephanie. Mr. Moderator, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Scott Carey, Town Moderator. I want to say hello to everybody and looking forward to a town meeting 4 weeks from tonight. So I just wanted to get in front of everyone and start to encourage people to get involved with the warrant and get up to speed on the articles that we'll be presenting on that day. A couple of things I just wanted to kind of bring to people's attention. There is a time change this year, so it's a little earlier than it has been in the past. So it's been a few years with the COVID and being outside, but it will be at 5:30 at the high school. And not sure if everyone's familiar with the new configuration, and it is still a construction project. So I do ask people to get there early. We'll be working together with the Eastham through the town. Myself will be working with the fire department, the police department to make sure everybody gets navigated in the correct, but give yourself a few extra minutes. I wanted to do that. I want to just confirm that the town's reached out to get the wireless headsets. That's underway. Great.
Yes.
And want to also let people know that there is a pre-town meeting on April 22nd, which is a Tuesday night. As in the past, that will be, it's on the front of your warrant, but it'll be 5:30 to 7:30 right here at Town Hall. And we encourage people to get their questions together. As in the past, it's not necessarily night to debate the merits of the articles, but it's more of a procedural, understanding, educational opportunity for people to, get input from the town administrator and myself if they have any specific questions. So we look forward to people joining us for that. I think I've said in the past, and I hope my fellow citizens feel the same way, that I believe my role as a town moderator includes an educational component, a historical perspective, as well as responsibility to assist my fellow voter and to understand the intent of the article, the definitions within the warrant, as we're all in this together. And I think, I never want somebody to get up and feel uncomfortable coming up to a microphone in front of 300 of their closest friends. I want them to feel like they can bring any questions or concerns through me at the meeting, and I'll do my best to give everybody a fair shake, as they say. Had a great meeting this weekend with our town administrator, Jackie. I think, it's always one of those moments where you take a step back and you realize how fortunate we are after, we had Sheila for so long and now we've had Jackie, and we are really a blessed community. And the effort that goes in, I really appreciate it. I know my fellow citizens do. We talked about a few of the articles over the weekend. I just want to, we had mentioned the two articles 4D and 4E about addressing the condominium associations within those articles. I think they're called Marshview and Salt Pond condominium. So we'll want to do that. Again, in the past, I'll be getting, I assume over the next few weeks, a list of the select board member who will be making the motion for each article, so we can kind of have our ducks in a row that way. I think one of the things, having looked back at the meeting that we had last year, we tried our best to sort of combine the CPA articles into one sort of article. I look back at that and I just thought that was a little more confusing than it needed to be. So this year we will just do them one at a time, and that will give everybody, an opportunity. There aren't that many of them. It will give people really an opportunity to understand what the CPA does, what their intent is, and what the committee had allocated the money and why. So I think we learned from that last year. And then these zoning board, or the zoning changes, who will speak to those? To be determined.
It'll probably be initially, the select board will make the motion and then maybe either Paul Lag or Carolyn, not Carolyn.
No, probably Paul.
Mary?
Mary, sorry.
Mary Neat, yes.
Okay.
Blank spot there. Mary Neat.
Yeah, okay, Mary. So that seemed to work well last year. So, okay. And then in there is a citizens petition article 9A, and who is the petitioner to be determined?
It's a non-resident, so
Okay.
I think they can designate someone because I believe it has to be a voter to make the motion.
I would concur. We'd have to have somebody make the motion, but I think due to the conceptualization of that article and what's going on in town with the potential tax changes, I think we will, and Jackie and I both talked about that. I think it would be very unfortunate not to give the group that's presenting that article a fair shake to be
I
in front of
totally
the
agree.
fellow
I-
voters. So normally, I think when we're talking about whether we do this or that, and it's this and that, I think we can be a little bit more myopic in sort of the range that we give. But I think with something as important as this, I think it's an opportunity for people to have a fair shake at it. So good. I think we're all on the same page. If anybody at home or in public have any questions?
And I think, Scott, you'll have Michele Randazzo from Copeland and Page. She'll be our advisor this year.
As I said, it's never bad when you have an open mic for 3 hours to have a lawyer next to you. Yeah. I've always felt comforted by that.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Scott.
All right, great. Nice to see everybody. Thank you.
Take care.
We have a couple people online.
Okay,
Mary Pikers is first.
Okay, Mary, if you could go ahead, we'll bring you in. If you could state your name, address, and primary residence, please.
Yes, Mary P. Carr's primary residence is in Southborough, Massachusetts. And we have a place at the Cape as well. And I just wanted to briefly share my thoughts. Some of you might remember me as the past president of EPERDA, but tonight I'm actually speaking as a part-time resident in order to express my own feelings about the situation that the town is in. So before I hear it again, I'm asking, can we please stop using the phrase that we need to use all the tools in our toolbox to create affordability in Eastham? If you don't have the right tools to solve a problem, you might make the problem worse. For example, if you have a plumbing problem and the tools in your toolbox are a hammer, a drill, and a saw, you might actually end up with some unexpected consequences by using them all. So what is the problem? It's affordability in Eastham. According to a recent article, Eastham's median income is 10 to 25,000 lower than some of the surrounding communities. The select board seems to be in favor of distributing handouts, but how long can those handouts last? In talking with several full-time residents, it's not handouts that they're looking for, but rather opportunities. How are we improving the opportunities for families, aside from childcare vouchers, to earn higher incomes? There's a lot of talk right now about bringing new shops and restaurants here. Will that do it? Not likely. Will bringing affordable housing here be the answer? With the harsh criticism that I've seen on Facebook, I was very surprised. People voiced their disapproval when a lottery was announced for an affordable project elsewhere on the Cape. They say that an apartment charging $1,600 a month is too high. A whole house was listed in town for $2,400 a month, and they said that's too high. A tiny home or two-bedroom cottage came on the market for $499,000. They say that's too high. So what is affordable? What does that actually mean to you, to people on the Cape? Have we done our homework? How many units do we need for current residents? And what will the residents be able to and choose to pay? Even tiny homes are not cheap to build. Someone has to pay. My husband remembers vacationing as a kid in Eastham, and it was a place where blue-collar families came. They could afford to go to the National Seashore. Now, some of those families own vacation homes where they can share the memories with new generations. Maybe they invested in real estate, and over time it has paid off. This does not mean they are rich, and we hear this all the time. Many must rent their houses out just to keep their homes. Yet you have put this label on all of us and said it was time for us to take our money and pass it over to others. Most of the economy is driven by tourism, which many of us with rentals directly contribute to. Have you thought about ways to attract off-season business? Do you understand that when we are forced to raise rental rates, our renters can choose to go elsewhere, especially when it's often cheaper to go to Italy? Or maybe they come and dine out less. These are real consequences. Once you tax some of the part-time residents out of here, do you think that the full-time residents are going to scoop up these properties? I bet not. Instead, you might just attract many buyers who have the money to be able to purchase the home and not rent it. With enough of those sales, you can drive the tourism component down very quickly. Many people can afford not to rent and choose not to. With so much effort going into the zoning work and the vision for a downtown, it's easy to get caught up in the hype. Picture 10 years down the road. You have your wastewater system, your high-density housing, seasonal designation with a 50% RTE, fancy shops and restaurants. Tell me, will your current residents be pleased? All the fishermen, teachers, artists, and police and fire personnel, will they all still be around? Will your part-time rentals still be available? My husband and I have been coming to Eastham for decades, and I have to admit that this is the first year, aside from the COVID years, that we have truly felt unwelcome here. I'm sorry to say that good faith that the part-timers felt toward the select board is beginning to evaporate. We have our own decisions to make. Proceed with our plan to retire in Eastham and possibly become full-time residents to avoid RTE, look to buy elsewhere, continue to rent out our home, or explore home swaps instead of renting. The select board's actions matter to all of us. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
All right, we have one more person on there. Please state your name, address, and where your primary residence is, please.
I'm promoting the user named Les's iPad.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Yu. My wife and I are part-time residents at 25 Meadow Drive. We are full-time residents of Connecticut. And we wanted to agree with most of the statements that have been previously made in opposition to the RTE. I did want to make a couple of other additional points. I wanted to read to you from a publication by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue, Division of Local Services. And it's entitled Living with the Residential Exemption. Enacted in 1979, the residential exemption is an option under property tax classification 59, section 5C, that shifts the tax burden within the residential class from owners of moderately valued residential properties to the owners of vacation homes, higher valued homes, and residential properties not occupied by the owner. The RTE being considered by the town, from my understanding, will provide a tax reduction for properties of up to $1.8 million. And I think we can all agree that houses of that value are not moderately valued. The RTE being considered by the town doesn't meet the intent or the spirit of the statute. And it just doesn't seem to be fair to reduce the taxes on a property that is worth 2 to 3 times the value of our property, which I think would be considered moderately valued. The RTE assumes that part-time residents have unlimited resources to pay increases in taxes. As some of the other speakers have indicated, that's simply not true. You could also assume that, hey, anybody who owns a house on Cape Cod, they must be wealthy. And we all know that's not true. Part-time residents have costs that are increasing as well. Our taxes on our house in Eastham have doubled in the past 10 years. Rents and taxes off Cape are also increasing. Our taxes in our town have gone up roughly 40% in the past few years. And we're all aware of the added cost of inflation, particularly in light of the most recent events in Washington, D.C. So even if you think the RTE is the way to go, given the economic uncertainty, we just don't think that now is the time to adopt one. Finally, if the goal is to provide assistance to those who need help with their taxes, there are other alternatives to the RTE, expanding the existing low-income veterans, senior programs, increase the taxpayer assistance program. You could even provide a tax deferral or tax freeze, or even consider a reduction in the tax rate as opposed to the RTE, which would increase the tax rate. In fact, our town in Connecticut recently reduced the tax rate given the fact that the assessments had risen so much. And I do note that this year, Eastham has the 3rd highest tax rate on the Cape, and an increase in the tax rate would most likely push them into the 2nd highest on the Cape. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Les. Just to clarify a point, he's talking about the tax rate. It's because our values are lower than other towns. That's why our tax rate may be a little bit higher. So you can change the tax rate and the assessed values all you want. At the end of the day, we still need the same amount of money to be appropriated. So that's why the tax rate varies from town to town. Is that generally a?
I'd like to just clarify a couple points too, just to people don't get confused. We look at tax burden, which is what you actually pay in property taxes, based on 2 things: the rate and the value of your home. So when we measure tax burden, Eastham is amongst the lowest on Cape Cod, not the highest tax burden. And then secondly, I think it is true, I forget the exact number, but when we talked about the RTE, the gentleman was correct, up to about 1.8 million does get a benefit of the RTE, but it's declining benefit So
They get like
at
at
1.8
20%,
million
they get like
is the
$50.
is the break even. You know, something just under 1.8 million, you know, is 10, $20 type of thing. So, so it's not the full, it's not you qualify or you don't, and you get the full benefit or you don't. It's a declining benefit based on the value of your home.
Thanks, Rich. All right, we'll move on. We have public hearing for aquaculture license and sites. Bob's going to read the public hearing announcement for us.
Okay. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 130, the Eastham Select Board will hold a public hearing on April 7th, 2025 at 5:30 PM in the Eastham Town Hall, Earl Mountain Room, 2500 State Highway, Eastham, Mass. 02642, and by remote participation concerning the following aquaculture licenses and sites.
You don't have to read them. We'll have Stephanie will hop up and talk to him. So thank you, Bob.
That's fine.
Greetings.
Hi again. All right, now I'm Shellfish Constable. So we'll do licenses first and then driving program
Great.
after. Okay. So the licenses that we have, I'll just go in order of the legal ad. So Gideon Turner is renewing his half-acre site in Nauset Marsh. Darlene Moore and Sam Carpentieri are requesting an expansion. So they've been successful with their current half-acre and are requesting an expansion. Just to note that license is not in your packet for signature because it requires further permissions and approval through the Division of Marine Fisheries. So it's something that their current site isn't expiring or anything like that. So that license is requested to be maintained as is. And when the Division of Marine Fisheries were to approve the site certification, we would present an updated license for select board signature at that time and date. Peter Burns is requesting to be removed from the license. That updated license will now reflect just Trent Sullivan. So it's not a total relinquishment of the site.
see.
It's 2 people on a license and it will now be 1. Alana Collins and Cameron Collins. Relinquishment of N7 and the updated coordinates for N1 and 2. You'll see a few of these licenses are just on here, the next 3 for updated coordinates.
Just a
There-
quick question about the Collins. Which one is it? Is it the one out in the deeper water? Or
Yeah, it's the one out in the deeper water that hasn't been used for some time. So we will let that site certification expire since it's not really a usable plot, so to speak, and hasn't been used. So
So it won't be up for someone else to take.
no,
over,
it will
right?
not
Okay,
be going
great.
to the wait list and will not be used in the future. It won't be licensed to somebody else.
Okay.
So the updated coordinates, I'll just address that. So that'll be for Alana and Cameron Collins, James McGrath, Andrew Morgan, and Stephen Smith. So all of those are the old style license. You're probably very familiar with them, where you start at maybe you started a GPS coordinate, maybe you started a stake in the marsh,
Right.
and you go this direction for this many
Something,
feet.
right.
So these are just updates to get everything to GPS coordinates for the 4 or more corners of those sites so we can delineate them appropriately. And all those on the licenses are in the packet for signature that Town Manager Jackie Beebe has for the select board and have been verified by the department to be in the right locations and of the right size, since they didn't all match. Yeah. And then Zachary Valley, similar to the Peter Burns license, that is being removed from the license. Jeffrey Valley remains on the license, so not a total relinquishment of the site, but just removing one of the 2 licensees. Catherine and Doug Edmonds have requested to relinquish their site N65. There's no new licensing of that at this time. If the relinquishment is approved, we'll request they remove gear within 60 days, and then it will be determined what happens with the site once it's
Whether or
free
not
and
you open it
clear
up for.
of gear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
All
for
right,
aquaculture
thank you.
licenses.
So
So we'll
any
make a motion.
questions? First, public hearing, so I need to make sure there's no one else. But if the board has any questions first,
None at all.
Jerry, any questions?
I just want to make that they dot all the i's and cross all the t's. I mean, I read it, that whole, all the pages, but I'm not sure I understood fully what they were. So I'm just asking the
Yes. So it depends on the request. So we have, I'll go through just quickly each one. Gideon Turner requested on February 7th. So we have his signed document for the license renewal. That doesn't require further documentation since the site is already certified by the Division of Marine Fisheries. And he's up to date on all licensing and everything like that. Peter Burns requested, we have that in writing in the packet, December 20th to be removed from the license, and also informed us that he would not be renewing, any of the licenses or permits affiliated with the grant since he is relinquishing. And then same from Alana and Cameron Collins for N7. Since that one is technically a relinquishment, we require that in writing. None of the updated coordinates need to be in writing since that is really just a department clerical update and there's no relocation need for recertification or anything like that. Zachary Valley, we have in writing removal from aquaculture license N62. Again, that's one where his father's remaining on the license. And then Doug and Catherine Edmonds, we have in writing February 28th to the department that they wish to relinquish aquaculture site N65. And then there is a whole packet that is multiple pages from Sam is here if you have any questions for him directly, but from Sam and Darlene for their expansion. And that's the one that will require further Division of Marine Fisheries approval. So no signing of a license, but
Right.
the expansion will move on to the next agency.
All right.
And that survey should be in April because we're scheduling other surveys
Okay.
last year as well.
All right, great. Is that sufficient, Jerry?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I can sleep well now. Yes.
Great, great. Anyone from the public like to make any comment or have any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. So I will entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the license renewals, expansions, relinquishments, and any other changes as outlined by our Shellfish Constable, Stephanie Sykes.
I'll second that.
That was a great motion. Thank you.
It really was.
It was. All right, any more discussion from the board? All right, we'll vote. Call the roll. Jerry?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Myself, aye. 3-0. Thank you, Stephanie.
we have
Do you want to
driving.
do
Oh, I know.
driving
We have more.
schedule? And thank you, Sam, for coming. I'm just going to give you these hard copies of.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Do you have a preference if we do the vehicle access applications or the schedule first?
Schedule's fine, since
Okay.
we have it right here in front of us.
So,
Was that schedule, there was a schedule in the packet. Is it the same one?
Right. the
yeah,
calendar.
there've been a couple minor updates just on some of the dates in the beginning of May or June where it was an afternoon tide. So basically, I'll jump right into it and I'll address those changes.
All right.
So the driving schedule, we are required to have select board approval per the order of conditions with conservation. The way that we develop the schedule is we model it after the previous year with any, proposed amendment. So we meet with a couple of the grant holders usually meet amongst themselves. Jackie and I met with Chris Crowbar, and we meet with a couple of others through the department. We receive direct requests from grant holders to the department. So we have individuals requests through the Shellfish Constable, any proposed changes. If you recall, if you were around last year, there were a few changes. So we've had
Right.
sort of steady changes as this program has evolved. So the changes that are in here are quite minimal. We really tried to stick with more of what we had the previous year. So the horseshoe crab monitoring is something that has been updated a little bit. So in June, you'll see there's a note maybe subject to change based on horseshoe crab monitoring. So that is something about the last year that we've updated since horseshoe crabs have been observed less, if any at all towards the end of June. So we have something that changed in the order of conditions stipulating that if none are observed after a certain date for a certain amount of time, then there's not a need for monitoring. We do have the CONSCOM meeting tomorrow night to review this year's data, so that's all a little bit subject to change, but that is why there's indication. We still schedule it as if there would be monitoring, because I'd rather do that and then pull back and say you have full access, but that is why throughout May and June, we have those indications for morning tide access only, afternoon tide access only. If there are 2 accessible tides, we pick the morning tide. So that's why, sorry, the Zoom, I did email one today, but they're just a couple updates, but the one that you have in the packet isn't much different. They're just a couple mornings, like for example, May 11th, 12th, that would be morning tide access. So we're not driving at like 7:30 at night. Usually it's preferable in the morning in case they're harvesting, that you could drive your product off the flats and,
Got it.
straight to the dealer, stuff like that. So for horseshoe crab monitoring, that has been something that's continued to be addressed through the Conservation Commission. It's not something that's subject to change through this meeting, but just mentioning it to make sure we represent the feedback that we've received from grant holders, and that it's been requested that that be reviewed, and it is being reviewed with the appropriate town department. So through the Conservation Commission at tomorrow's meeting. Some examples would be like self-monitoring or updating the schedule as we did last year. So we're continuing to move through that. Part of the reason that it's not determinable at this public hearing is because it's subject to NHESP requirements. So that sort of supersedes my opinion
All of
for
our-
sure.
yeah.
So emergency access, we're requesting some other updates to that. It shouldn't affect the schedule. That's more of like a January thing, but these are some of the things that have come up. Summer driving, it has been requested by some of the vehicle access users, access later in the morning. So last year it was updated from access in 2023 is till 8:30 in the morning. It was adjusted to 9 a.m. The Recreation and Beach Department obviously has allowed that, but feels quite strongly about the 9 a.m. cutoff, considering beach staffing, sticker requirements, things like that. One of the few dates that is restricted prior to stickers being required. So stickers this year will be required June 21st and after. So you'll see on June 21st, access till 9 a.m. That's when it starts. But if you go back to May 2025, the 24th, 25th, 26th, that's Memorial Day weekend. The request from the Recreation and Beach Department was morning access and then no access Memorial Day. Those are actually afternoon tides, so those would be like sunset driving time. So originally we had access till 9 a.m., but just based on the tides, I feel like that's less clear, really kind of gets your hopes up. So just for clarification, we did indicate no access for those particular days. Again, the rest of that schedule is really subject to the crabs. And then afternoon access, quite similar feedback on that. It's seen as a little bit too much of a safety conflict and a user conflict with the amount of other users at that recreational area in the afternoons in the summertime. Obviously other times of year outside of, horseshoe crab monitoring, summer beaches, they do have access during that time. We have a couple other things going to conservation, but that is kind of a summary of feedback. And then I think we have some other comments as well, unless you have questions for me first.
No, I don't have any. Do you?
We have some comments. I don't know if you're taking public comment.
Oh, comments about the driving? Craig? Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Hi, Craig Pusikian, Orleans resident, Eastham Shellfish, agriculture leaseholder. Couple things. So my first question is, you're voting on what tonight? And how does it affect the meeting tomorrow with the CONSCOM?
Well, it,
So tonight would be the schedule. And then if there's anything in that would change, and tomorrow night there shouldn't be, tomorrow night's our report, so if anything in the order of conditions were to change, we'd probably be like a month or so minimum out from that between abutters, because we do have to do certified mail abutters notices. And those take a while, so you'd probably be like at minimum a month, probably like 6 weeks out from any actual order of condition changes. So tonight would be the schedule as is, and if there were order of conditions that superseded or were anyway in conflict with the approved schedule, those would come back to the select board for further approval.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
And you vote, they'll also vote on the actual driver licenses later, yes?
Yes, and yeah, so the second thing would be separate vote for the vehicle access applications for approved users.
Okay, so I don't want to delay anything, but I have some comments that have been
Okay.
for myself and from other growers. As far as the horseshoe crab program, we're kind of wondering, is it even required? I know this is probably a question for ConsCom, but I can't make that meeting tomorrow. I have a meeting in Orleans I have to be at. So I'm just bouncing off a few people. Recreationally, people are allowed to take 6 horseshoe crabs a day to do whatever they want to. But except sell them. Commercially, people can take between 200 and 1,000 horseshoe crabs a day. I don't know any grower out there that wants to destroy horseshoe crabs, but we're wondering, can we do self-monitoring? It's almost easier in your vehicle, seeing them as you're approaching, as you're going down the road.
A note too, just for procedure, the Conservation Commission has sole discretion.
Right.
Okay, I understand that.
They can listen to you, Craig, but they can't opine.
Who can? Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I
You're venting.
understand that.
It's all right.
I can't make the meeting tomorrow night. I can't even do the
Gotcha.
Zoom. I'm at
You
a,
said written?
I'll try.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that's good.
Okay, but this is.
Gotcha.
I'm on a roll.
Okay. Keep going.
The 9 AM limit is really in question. So last year I offered, I think it was almost 30 videos I took from the parking lot at First Encounter during the time restriction that we had, the summer restriction. And basically every time I came into the parking lot, I held on my phone, took a video, did the loop. No matter what time of day. I wasn't trying to, find empty lots. If I was there at 7 AM or 7 PM, I took a video. And it's about 28, 30 videos, which I'll be more than happy to send. It's from the 2022 and 2023 seasons. And the majority, probably 80% of the videos were mornings, and 90% of them showed vacant lots, a vacant lot up until about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to be a downer, but I'll try. But Cape Cod tourism just isn't like it used to be. And Eastham is a great town, but beach access doesn't happen at 9 o'clock in the morning anymore. It's the lot's empty. I don't understand why we have to be out by 9 o'clock. We don't take up any spots. I shouldn't say that. If a grower has an employee that may take up a spot, that's fine. But usually we drive on with our employee or not. We drive on to the beach, do our stuff, and head back out. Whether we come back at 3 in the afternoon or 3 in the morning, we're by ourselves. We're not taking up any particular parking spot that a tourist might be paying for. You know what I mean? So I don't see that it's really a big effect on the lot. My own take on that. And as far as accessing our access, you guys are great. The original access was come on, make a left, make a right, and it was a mess, especially if you were towing a trailer. We made a request, we pushed it all the way over to the right. It's awesome. But unfortunately, in the summertime, there's a porta potty blocking that route. So it's like, so now how do you get down there if there are cars in the lot? So I'm wondering, can we move the porta potty just so it's out of the way? Let's see. And then there's also a request for PM access. I know it's definitely questionable. One of the reasons is for getting oysters back into the water. If you have a dual tide, morning, afternoon tide, a lot of people take their product off, they bring it home to cull, which is legal. They have a license to cull off-site. And then you need to get the product back in the water hopefully within 24 hours, within 12 hours, preferably. So if you leave, if you go out at 6 a.m. and bring in 30 bags, you want to be back by 6 p.m. to get them back out. Is it possible to have evening access from like 4:30 to 7 on, you might get 2 or 3 days a month out of that, which would be great. That's just a request. What else? Oh, and then we're curious, why not Memorial Day? It's especially if it's a morning access. I don't know. We've had more Memorial Day before. And it is the beginning of our big season to sell. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Craig.
Appreciate it.
Can we address the beach parking and that time issue? Because that's recreation really that, yeah. So
They've worked with Stephanie.
Yeah, so the recreation department really has dictated what about those times in the morning and evening. So we're gonna take their advice on that. So if you want to lobby anybody, lobby
Okay.
them.
I said one out there, let's see where we're at.
Okay.
This doesn't say right. Doesn't say right.
All right, so
Did you want to address?
Yeah, we
I have
can-
any questions about Memorial Day weekend or like previous access or anything?
I like that you're allowing afternoon access before Memorial Day. That allows you to get product off, right? Yeah, that's good.
I can add one thing for evening access. A lot of the buyers in summertime will have extended hours, so you can actually get to the buyer at 7 p.m.
Hmm.
Versus they close at 4:30 or 4 o'clock, for the spring, summer, spring, fall and winter. So they do remain open to us.
Gotcha. I don't have any specific questions for you. So we need a motion to approve the,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2025 summer driving schedule as a standard starting point.
Yeah,
As presented
contingent.
by our shellfish constable, Stephanie.
I'll second that.
all right, any more discussion? All right, we'll vote. Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and myself, aye. And now we have the specific drivers.
Yep. Can I introduce that?
Please.
Okay. So the last thing that we have for shellfish or aquaculture, I should say, are vehicle access applications. And this is the annual approver for the folks that utilize that summer driving schedule, as well as year-round access to Boat Meadow ADA, Boat Meadow Aquaculture Development Area. So I have the last names of the applicants, if that is probably easiest for a vote. We have Bissett, Campbell, Carpentieri, Crowbar, Doolittle ×2, Dwyer ×2, Gibbons, McElroy, McClellan, O'Brien, Pusikian, Power, Sparrow, Sullivan, and Van Norman. So all of these vehicle access applications have been signed by both myself and Jackie Beebe. We have, I think, one pending truck inspection, but all of the other truck inspections have been completed. And if there is any outstanding documentation or like the one truck inspection, for example, any approval would just be pending the status of that application or outstanding item. But all of them are included in the packet. So everybody got everything in on time. Everybody provided insurance information for their vehicle, truck information, trailer information, everything that is required per the order conditions.
All right, great. So we'll need a motion to approve the list of names as she presented.
Sure, I'll make that motion to approve the vehicle, I guess, truck and trailer access to the beaches in Eastham, as presented by our shellfish constable.
And I'm Mr. Second today, so I'll second that one.
All right, any more discussion? All right, we'll vote. Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and myself, aye.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you for all your work.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Craig. Nice to see you.
Running is huge. Game changer.
All right, next we have,
Sugar gets sugar.
what's that?
Sugar gets sugar.
That's right. All right, next we have licensing. We have a bunch of seasonal I guess they're all seasonal licenses
Yep.
and a couple one-day liquor license.
Right.
I'll go ahead and read them off. We have Arnold's Lobster and Clam Bar for a common victualler and all alcohol on premise and mini golf. Gift Barn, mini golf and coin operated amusements. Elks Lodge, common victualler, and I think it's all alcohol on premise.
I
It
think so,
says
yeah.
off, but pretty sure that's on premise.
Cloud premise.
Eastham Landing, common victualler and all alcohol off premise. Sam's Deli, common victualler and all alcohol off premise. Eastham Café, common victualler. Lauren Tony's Kitchen, common victualler and all alcohol on premise. And Windmill Weekend Inc., a one-day liquor license on September 6th from 12 to 4, and a one-day liquor license on September 7th from 12 to 3.
Okay.
I move.
The list.
I will, I'll second that. I do have one question, however.
The list.
For Eastham Cafe, there's signs for sale, etc. in front of that. Do we have any information on that?
The
And that's
business
the-
is for sale. The premises, the actual real estate is not for sale. The business is for sale, is my understanding. So
Okay.
the business is getting their common vic so they can open and.
So they can open and it actually, then it's something they can sell. They have a lot.
Exactly.
Thank you.
All right, any more discussion? All right, we'll vote. Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and myself, aye. All right, Cape Cod Commission Representative, Michele Vion.
Yeah, our long-term representative Joy Brookshire has stepped down. I don't know how many years she's done, but
It
it's
was since, I believe, 2008 when I came
Yeah,
on this
long
board.
time. She's done a wonderful job, obviously
A while ago.
dedicated to the town of
Yeah.
Eastham. But we are proposing Michele Vion.
Yeah, I read her resume, her experience. She's been on several strategic planning
Mhm.
and I believe, was it Tea Time? Can't remember now off the top of my head, all her committees, but very well-rounded
Yes.
town experience and other work experience. Here we go. Planning board, strategic planning and open space committee. So she's definitely got some good town experience and I think she'd be great. So what's our next move?
This is just a pure appointment of yours, and then she will go on for a term on the Cape Cod Commission, and then we just renew her.
Okay. So we need to appoint.
I move that we appoint Michele Vion to be an Eastham representative for the Cape Cod Commission.
Second.
All right, any more discussion? All right, we'll vote. Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Aye.
and myself, aye.
And soon, Walter Sebastian, who's been also a longtime representative of Eastham on the Lower Cape TV board, he has indicated that he is resigning, retiring, and so I met with Teresa, and so we should be having another representative soon. There are also, she wanted me to let people know, there are also at-large openings on that board as well, if anyone is interested in helping Lower Cape TV move into the future.
All right, town managers report.
I'm sorry, I don't have a written report, and I just have a couple of items. An HR update, Kayla Urquhart has been moved to a new, not a new position that we've created. We had an IT applications position and that person resigned. And so what we're doing is taking IT applications and combining it with communications and moving Kayla into that. She's been doing that with another staff member, helping out while we've had the opening and done a good job with it. And so she was the only internal applicant for that position, so she's moved into that. So I'm on the hunt for a new executive assistant. And Chief Bohannon wants to be on the agenda in a few weeks. He's got a couple of items that he wants to talk to you about. The renewal of their certification and a
right.
couple of other things. So I'm gonna schedule that soon. And then I guess the biggest news is we were notified by the DEP last week that we did achieve the points on the IUP, and Eastham will be on the final IUP and funded for 2025. So we have yet to, we've gone back and forth. We have capital projects coming up tomorrow. Rich and I want to, take some time this week, but obviously we're not going to do this at this town meeting. So if we were to move forward this year, it would have to be before June 30th. So our thought is we won't know about USDA funding until later. So I think we're still leaning towards putting it off another year, but it does give us the confidence that next year could be our year. And unfortunately, they're still capping it at 50 million with no guarantee of funding for the prior year. So hopefully things will calm down in the universe this year and we'll be able to know where we stand a little better. But I wanted to let you know that we did achieve that goal, and that will help us with funding and with moving the project along, hopefully.
I know the Cape Municipal Leaders Group on Friday is meeting in Eastham at the
Yeah,
Sheraton.
the Sheraton.
And the discussion will be wastewater.
Yeah. So Rich and I will both go to
I'm,
that.
I'm signed up.
Yeah, I think that's on my calendar too.
Yeah, 7:30
So-
Friday.
Yeah, I sadly can't make that one. One,
7:30.
one,
You could zoom in, Jer.
yeah, one question. Yeah, I can. I'll look at that. See if I can do that. I'm trying to think where I'm going to be. We're traveling around seeing all the kids. I don't know where I'm going to be that day.
Where's Jerry? It's like
Yeah.
Thursday.
But yeah, but
Where's
Jackie,
Waldo?
will it hurt us at all by not doing anything before June 30th, 2025 on this?
Well, it
being on the
will
IP?
hurt us. We will not be able to apply for SRF monies in October if we don't have a vote and an approval for the entire project by June 30th.
Of this year,
So
June 30th of this year?
that's correct.
Oh,
So that is the reason, we're leaning towards putting it off, because it would be difficult without a funding plan to get authorization. So that's what they
Right.
require.
But putting it off, will that hurt us in the sense of being in the queue to get something in 2026 for fiscal 2026?
Well, since I think I had two separate calls from the DEP to assure us that, they were going to put us on the list, even though they knew that we weren't going to be able to get the approval before June 30th. And I think they were indicating, we're on the list. We're on the list and we're worthy of funding. So that's the most important thing. So next year, if we put in the same application, we'll be on the list, we'll be worthy of funding, is what I'm hanging our hat on right now.
All right, thank you.
All right, is that it for your
Mhm.
report? Okay, new upcoming, you already mentioned Chief Bohannon wants to be on the agenda. So we'll make sure that happens. I guess that'll be after town meeting.
Yeah, probably.
Since we have the pre-town meeting, next meeting. All right, any other new and upcoming agenda items?
No, Jackie, not Jackie, Amy, sorry. One of the, we did receive a request, someone talking about the lottery, and maybe it's.
Yeah, I thought
for-
we'd wait till after town meeting.
I agree after
Yeah.
town meeting, but I think it's something that we should at least have a discussion on.
Yes,
At a future select board meeting.
yeah, but he's talking about the vessel storage lottery
read that.
received. And
Yep.
I agree with some of his points. I know some of
Right,
them,
I don't agree with all,
difficult to-
but it's worth having a discussion on it.
exactly. All right.
Jerry, when was that email Was that an email sent?
I replied to it today.
Okay.
So you
I
would,
rephrase. Yeah,
I'll take a look.
yeah, if you look on it came
to all of us.
on the request to all of us. So look there, I think Amy replied, so the way the system works, it may be under Amy. So just go on to Amy's thing and you can see it.
Yeah, I did
Thanks.
a reply all
Gotcha.
from mine, so.
Thank you.
All right, minutes. We have minutes Monday, March 24th. I had a couple little things. We got motion to recommend on the first 4, but then it switches to motion to accept on all
Okay.
the rest of them. So they should all say
Motion
motion to
recommend.
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 And then the policy on remote meetings, which I know is a moot point because the state did come
Mhm.
back with for 2 more years, they extended it. But she kind of left it hanging. Board will be updating, removing outdated content in the remote meeting policy. The changes will be, and then it's just
Okay.
blank.
The changes
So
will be.
It needs just a little
Something.
bit more description of what we actually talked about.
Okay.
Other than that, she spelled Jerry's name right in every instance. There
Yeah.
were a lot of them to look through too, with
I
all
know.
your motions and such.
I
But yes,
I understand, I talk too much. Um,
no
yeah.
worries.
But what was it? I was gonna say something.
Were you
about
gonna make a
the-
motion on the minutes? No, maybe?
Yes, I will. Oh, on the what we discussed, I think that they left hanging was what we discussed was physically have a quorum physically at town meeting, and then the rest of us could join remotely. I think,
Right.
to
That was the gist of it, and that's
that was
really
the
what it needs
gist.
to
It's
be.
not
Yeah.
necessary now, but that's what we talked about.
Right.
Well, I make a motion, we approve the minutes of, what was the date of that?
Monday, March 24th.
March 24th,
With
with the amendments.
second.
All right, any more discussion? All right, all in favor? Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and myself, aye. Any other business? Oh, I do have one thing. Tomorrow is free cone day at Ben and Jerry's, and that's every Ben and
Wow.
Jerry's.
Oh,
I guess
even in
the
Virginia,
world, I don't know. What's that?
I can do it in Virginia, get a free cone at Ben and
Yeah.
Jerry's here? All right.
Oh, I know it's definitely in the country. I'm not sure if
Well,
are
Virginia's
there
in the,
Ben and Jerry's outside of the US? They're probably.
Outside of New England? I don't know. I don't
There's
think
outside of New England.
I don't know. I'm in
Definitely.
Virginia right at the
Cone Day
moment.
is a Ben and Jerry's thing, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. I didn't know that. I thought it was just a local thing.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Oh, no, it's everywhere. I remember in Oregon going 30 years ago.
wow.
So
I'll be there at the end of the week.
you'll have to pay, sorry.
I'll have to pay, I understand.
All right, any other business?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Jerry?
Yes,
Aye.
yes.
Bob? Myself, aye. We are adjourned.
Thanks a lot.